Hey, what's up people? How's it going? It's Intanger here. I'm making a video with my phone about these devices I've been playing around here with. I got this on 4K Pro streaming, and it is a pretty cool little device. This is the unit right here. It's this little thing that's not a whole lot bigger than a hockey puck, and it has a Android TV on it. It's got, they also call it Google TV. I think this is more of a crappy launcher on top of Android TV. So I guess it's technically both, but we're not really interested in the Google part. But yeah, this is one of the devices I've been tinkering around with lately. This is the one of the better versions of it. It's got its own Ethernet port, and it's got a USB port, and it's got a barrel power jack. And this is a really low powered Ethernet, so don't get excited about that. It's actually pretty lousy. But yeah, this is one of them, and I also have this one. This is the Plus. It's supposed to be a step down. It does not have all the extra ports. It's got a USB-C power, and it's got a so you pretty much got to use that for power. You can't use it for extra peripherals. And it also doesn't have an Ethernet, but it does have a really high-powered Wi-Fi. It does have Bluetooth support, and it's actually supposedly got a faster processor. I don't know if it says so on here. I don't think it's got like all the specific specs on here. So from what I looked online though, this is supposed to be a little faster of a processor, and it's barely bigger than the size of a hockey puck. This is the one I'm going to be setting up today because I actually bricked mine recently trying to install a mouse emulator on it and bricked it. So I got to set it all up all over again, so I figured I'd make a movie of how to do it so you can set one of these up for yourself. I've got mine set up for doing all sorts of emulator stuff. You can also use it for your smart TV hub and run like Plex or Netflix, all that sort of stuff on it. And I was trying to install Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster on it, and I did get it to run, but I couldn't press any buttons because I don't have touchscreen support, so I installed a mouse emulator and totally crashed it. So I'm going to restart this one. This one over here, I was able to just plug a mouse into it over the USB port, and then I was able to use the touchscreen functions and turn on controller support and play Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster on this thing. It's really cool. I'm going to get into that later, but mostly I'm going to be covering how to set up a new launcher and set up a retroarch on here, put your ROMs on there, set your controllers up, and all that sort of stuff. Basically turn this tiny little hockey puck sized device into a home entertainment system for your living room that can play all your favorite classic games. That's what I've been doing with these. It's really cool, it's really fun. It's also really buggy and, well, not buggy, like permanently buggy, but there's lots of bugs that you'll run into, lots of issues that you'll run into. What I'm also going to be talking about in this video while I've got the camera out is hooking up some of these controllers. And I figured I'd show off some of my controllers that I've been getting lately. So I've been experimenting with different ones. I got this Game Sir. Can't remember which version it's called. Some sort of Game Sir. And it's actually pretty great. This thing was super cheap. I can't remember how much. It was like 20 bucks or 8 bucks. I don't remember. It's dirt cheap. And it's got a really good feel to it. The controls feel really great. The thumbsticks have a nice grip on them. They are really cool. The only thing I don't like about it is that it's got like this Xbox type configuration where the D-pad is here and the stick is over here. I don't like that as much as the PlayStation controls. But what is really cool is it came with the case for free. I didn't pay for this case. It came with it in a case. This is how it's shipped in the box, and that is just really cool. It's an extra really nice bonus option. I also got these others. These are the ones more people recommended. Pro 2 Bluetooth gamepad. So I got this one here. I already opened it out of the box. And this one's got like a PlayStation 2 type feel to it. It's got some nice sticks as well. They're not as grippy as the other ones, but it's got the layout that I like with the thumbsticks in the middle like that. And this actually counts as a button that you can use in RetroArch. And it's also got buttons underneath on the bottom, which is pretty cool. So this is actually my new favorite one that I've been using. But I also really like this one over here. So I also have this one. This is the SN30 Pro. Well, this one over here is called the Pro 2. This one's the SN30 Pro. And it's got more of a Super Nintendo feel to it. It's got the same face as this other one over here. But oddly enough, it does not have the same capabilities inside different in things that you'd use it on, which is weird because like these buttons don't map the same way, even in the same modes. It's got multiple modes that you can start it up in, and this one has multiple modes that you can start it up in too with a switch. This one has different modes that you turn it on with holding a button when you turn it on. And so you can pair it to multiple devices at once for different modes. It's got like a D mode, and I think it's got a D mode, an X mode, an Apple mode, I think. But oddly enough, yeah, even though it has the same modes as the other one, they don't have the same button layouts in each one. This one also doesn't have 2 extra buttons on the bottom. These are not buttons. But it does have 2 shoulders on both sides. It's got the regular shoulder and a trigger. The trigger is it's like a digital. It's not an analog. That one just presses down or not. This one over here is analog, so it's like a full trigger. This is just a button. But I really like this one for the Super Nintendo because it got the exact same feel as the Super Nintendo, except for these shoulders. You kind of have to adjust your shoulder press a little bit to get the high end of it instead of, just pressing it. But yeah, it's pretty great. I do like it a lot. And so yeah, I'm going to be using some of these on my setup. But yeah, that's all I've got as far. One more thing. Let me show you this. If you don't have any of these controllers, you can just hook up some sort of a PlayStation controller. This is a PlayStation 5 controller. A lot of people crap on them. I think they're actually really good and very comfortable. It will support all the buttons on it, and also this actually will work as a menu button. Oops, I just turned on my PlayStation. The touchpad does not work in RetroArch, but you don't need it. But I did try to also pair a PlayStation 4 controller, and it did not work. I don't know why it didn't work, but it didn't work. So FYI, PlayStation 5 does seem to work. PlayStation 4 does not. And in order to pair these, you have to, I think you press share and turn it on, and you hold it for a little while, and it will start flickering. That means it's in pairing mode. And then you can pair it like anything else, and then to unpair it and put it back on your PlayStation, you just plug it in, and it will resync back to the PlayStation. So you can use it back for that. So that's it as far as the hardware goes. I'm going to go to the computer now and turn the sucker on. All right, now I'm over on my computer, and I've got it booted up already. If you brick yours like I bricked mine doing something, make your setup not valid anymore, it won't start, you can press the little button that it's got on there next to the HDMI port and plug it in, and when it starts up, it'll go to a menu like this. I tried to go into fast boot mode and see if I could fix it, and I couldn't get it to do anything. I couldn't get it to mount. This is supposed to be a way to mount it and get to the file system and tinker around with it, but I didn't get it to work. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this right here and start it like a fresh factory reset, just like it probably comes out of the box. So you don't need to do this part unless you've already bricked it. And once I've done this part, I should be on the same page with whatever you pull out of the box if you've got one of these. And by the way, this will work with all of them. The Pro, the Plus, and whatever the base model was called. I forget what they called it. They've also had older models. I think it'll work with every single one of them. They have the new line of the base, the Plus, and the Pro, and whatever the old ones were. I'm pretty sure they all more or less work the same. They have slightly different hardware specs, but they should all do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and hit that and start that sucker up, and get busy erasing it. So it says it's erased, so now I'm going to reboot it. So it's starting up. All right, some things that you'll need in order to follow my instructions along with me is you will need a computer with a browser, a web browser. I'm just going to go over to that screen while that's booting. So here's my Linux screen, and you don't have to have Linux, but I think it will actually make a lot of things easier. But what you'll need is a browser that can go to the Play Store and log in as the same email that you're going to use on the device. So whenever you log into Android TV, it will ask you for a Google account of any kind. And you're going to want to log into the same account on both your browser and the device. It just makes a lot of things easier. You can do almost all the things on the device itself, but it's just a lot easier if you get onto the browser first.
because sometimes it won't find the apps for you. I don't know why. It's like it doesn't think that they're supported on the Android TV, even though they are, and it won't install them very easily on the device itself. So for a lot of the apps, it's just easier to log into your browser and do it here. The other thing you'll need is any sort of FTP browser. I'm going to use the default file browser on my Linux install here. It's called Kaja. I think it's a branch of Nautilus. I'm not really sure. I think it is, but it's been around forever. Most of the default file browsers on Linux will work. Like if you're using the KDE one, or if you're using the Cinnamon one, or the GNOME 3 one, or this is the Mate one. If you're using any of them, I'm pretty sure you can just type in an FTP address like this, and it will work as an FTP browser. I don't know if Windows can do it or not. Linux has been able to do it for like 20 plus years now, but Windows, they just never seem to bother with those sorts of functionalities. I don't know if it'll work. If you have Windows, you'll have to get an FTP browser of some kind. I think there's one called FileZilla or something like that that's pretty popular. I'm not really sure. I don't really use FTP stuff very often, and I certainly don't use it on Windows. But I think there's one called FileZilla. I'm not 100% on that. But yeah, look around for an FTP browser that you can use on Windows. And the other thing that you'll need is a text editor, just a really basic text editor. We're going to have to make one config change in here, and we'll get to that later. So any text editor, especially if one can connect to FTP directly, that will be great. That will save us a lot of trouble. If you can't do that, then you'll have to find your own way of doing it. There's multiple other alternatives in order to edit this config file that we're going to get to later. And when we get to there, I'll kind of mention some of the other options. But you'll have to figure out another option if you don't know how to edit a text file. But yeah, let's go back to the other screen. So it's gotten to some spot where it's asking me to pair. So I'm going to go ahead and pair. I'm just going to do all the things that it tells you to do as it goes along, just like the ones you're probably going to have to do. You probably don't need as much hand holding as all that, but it's surprisingly quirky and buggy doing some of these steps, and it can throw you off if you're not paying attention. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it mostly along with you. I'm doing the manual setup because my phone is not logged on with this user, so that won't do any good. So I'm going to pause for a second. All right, so it's connecting to my home network. It will ask a handful of basic setup things in the near future here. And yeah, you just set them up for yourself, like log into your own Wi-Fi, obviously. You're going to need to set up your own Google account of any kind, like any Google account. It can be like a Google Mail account, or it could be something else that's hosted on Google, like if you have an email that's hosted on Google, whatever it is. I set up one specifically for these on 4K devices on my own domain. So I'm going to plug all that stuff in and log in. All right, so it's logging me in. If you have your same login that you're going to use on this device, like on your phone, which is perfectly valid, I just didn't want to have all these devices, linked all together. So, but yeah, you can if you want, and then just log in with your phone instead of manually. It'll probably be easier for you. But yeah, I don't know. I like to be difficult because I just don't like to feed the beast too much. They want all of our data, so I turn off all this sort of stuff, and I recommend turning it off too. It doesn't matter really. You don't have to. It's not important. This here, I think this is totally irrelevant because we're not going to use Google TV anyway. I'm not going to use Google TV. All right, so I set up like these different locations for the devices. So I already set those up. You can plug in whatever you want. I gave it non-useful I gave it random, device-specific names instead of location-specific names. There are microphones on these stupid devices, and by default you can leave them on. I turn them off. At least the Plus, the Pro has a built-in microphone. The Plus itself, I think it's got a microphone built into the remote. And I don't know. I think that they kind of link a whole bunch of data that they're gathering from you about your household, and I don't know what they do with it. It's really creepy the way that they want to have such specific resolution on where in your house they're collecting your data. I don't want to cooperate, so I turned it off. And also, I didn't bother to put any of these on, but as you'll see, it installs them anyway. So that's normal. It's going to install them anyway, even if you don't want it to. For you, if you've got this hooked up to your TV, I would definitely set up your remote for your TV so you can have volume and power, but I'm not hooked up to a TV at the moment, so I'm not doing that. I'll do it later. But yeah, go ahead and do that, and then it will start installing a bunch of stuff, and it will take some time. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off for now, and I'll come back later after it's done, and we'll go from there. All right, it looks like it's finished. When you boot in, it should have a screen pretty similar to this. I think this is what they call the Google TV launcher, right? And it's like a launcher just like you have on your phone, where it shows your apps and all that sort of stuff. But obviously there's a crap load of advertisements all over it. Like they're hawking all sorts of shows and services and God knows what else. I mean, just all sorts of stuff. And I mean, if you hook up this to your TV and you want to browse all these movies and stuff all the time, that's probably not a bad setup. You know, that's probably fine for you. But if you want to hook this up for games and run emulators on it, then all this busy launcher with all these ads loading in the background and like connecting to whatever the heck this is, some sort of like TV service. Like, I don't want or need any of that stuff. And I don't want it. Like, I actively do not want it because it's going to slow down the machine. So what I'm going to do, this is where the computer step comes in. We're going to switch over to the computer, and we're going to load a handful of software onto it. So I'm logged in as the same user. So I should be able to find apps like this. CX File Explorer. This is one of the first ones that we're going to want to get. Look up CX File Explorer. Go to Install on Devices, and it should show you the one that you're setting up right now. And here's mine. And as you can see, I've also tinkered around with the Pro version and whatever this base model version was. I gave this away as a Christmas gift. But yeah, here's the Plus version. So I'm going to install this. And it's going to make me log in. 1 second. It loves to expose every single one of my emails, and it loves to ask me to log in like 15 times. So that's going to be annoying, but it is what it is. So anyway, I've installed that. It says it's going to install. Previously, when I tried this, I did get errors that said it failed to install for some reason. I don't know what the problem was, but I just tried over and over, and it would usually work after 2 or 3 tries. So if you do get some error that says it didn't install for some reason, it gets like this really dumb, vague error, just try again. It's not a big deal. It seems to happen a lot. So yeah, that's one of them that we're going to install. There's a handful of different ones, and we're just going to install them all now while we're here, so it'll be more convenient. So one of them is called ADB TV. ADB TV. This guy here, you want this one. So I'm going to install this again. I'm probably going to have to put in my password again. I just did the plus a second ago, I hope. Let's do a plus again. And what do you know, I gotta log in again. 1 second. Alright, so I've logged in again, and it says it will be installed soon. Alright, so that's 2 of them. We need another one called Project Ivy Launcher. I don't know exactly how it's supposed to be pronounced, but it's spelled as if Project Ivy Launcher. So get that one, and it will have this icon here. We definitely want this. This thing is great. I'll explain why in a second. I'm going to go install. It's going to ask me my password again. 1 second. All right. So it'll be installed on my device. Okay, and there is several other cool things that you can get while we're here. Like if you like to use Plex, I really love Plex. I recommend it, but that's not what this video is going to be about, so we're not going to get into that. But if you want to get any other cool apps while you're here, get that one, or get, let's see, does it tell me some of the other apps I've installed? Yeah. I think I was experimenting with this one. I didn't get it to work. This one right here. There's another way we can install it, but since this is right here in front of me, I guess I'll just install it here now. Let me look around a little bit more. Is there anything else cool? Steam Link. This is another great option. Oh, and Tailscale. This is another great option. So let me talk about these. These aren't going to be part of the scope of this video, but I'll just talk about them to just give you a heads up. So Steam Link lets you play your Steam games on your TV. It'll basically connect to your Steam computer on your network, on your desktop computer or your laptop or whatever it is. It'll connect to it and stream the video and audio from it and let you play it on this device. And it's actually pretty great. I tried it out. The video delay is super minimal, but unfortunately on Linux, the audio delay was like a half-second delay, which kind of ruined it for me. There's probably some sort of way I can tweak it lower, but I haven't figured it out yet, so I skipped on that for now. But it's really a great option. It's really a great piece of it's a great utility, and it gives you a really cool set of really neat options to play on your TV. Play any of your games on your TV. Super cool. And Tailscale is another one that's a really cool utility. This is a networking utility that basically lets you connect into your home network. Or any network that you have set up. You basically set up like a virtual network on, across the internet, and then you can connect machines into this Tailscale network. And so I've got a Tailscale network set up for all my home computers, and then like I can install this on the device, and I'm going to actually go ahead and do it. And what it lets me do is like if I'm out and about, like let's say I've gone on vacation and I'm at a hotel, and I want to be able to connect to my local network and access my files or access my Plex server, then I can do it over this, and it's really cool. So I'm going to go ahead and install this because I will use this. And I got to do this again, 1 second. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and grab that. This is a really awesome utility. You won't always need it, though. If you don't have like some sort of private network resources on your home network that you need to be able to access remotely, then you probably don't need this. But if you do that, it's awesome. It's basically like a VPN tunnel, but you can establish it to your home network without any open ports. But again, yeah, that's not really part of the scope of this. All right, so we're going to go back over here, and there was this other thing that I'm going to grab since we're here, and it's right in front of us. We'll get this one as well. This one we need. It's basically like a browser that lets you download things from websites. It's basically just a really basic browser that lets us download packages from websites. And that's something we're going to need to do for RetroArch. So I'm going to grab this. 1 second. All right, so it says it's downloading now. Okay, so I think that's all the apps that we need. Let me just double check. I think that's all the apps that we need. And now we'll go ahead and set them up, and I'll explain why we need them. All right, so I think that's it. So we're going to go back to the other device, and we should see quite a few more apps have magically installed. And yeah, here's some of them are. We've got the new launcher, we've got Tailscale, we got the downloader, we got this, and we got that. All right, so that's all the stuff we need. So let me explain some of these packages. The launcher is because the Google TV launcher is, like I said, super bloated, full of ads. It's constantly doing things in the background. I don't want it at all. It sucks. So I'm going to get this one instead. I'm going to load this up, and it will walk you through a couple of config options for permissions and whatnot. And this is where the quirks start to begin. There's a whole lot of weird quirks when it comes to setting permissions, and you'll see it in just a second. Allow it to read your device. You don't have to do this, but if you don't do it, it'll complain every time it starts up. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, yeah, fine, go ahead. Grant network access and notification access and special settings. You definitely want to do this. This is important. So go down to here, and as you can see, I can't actually select anything because it's not working. This is where the quirks begin, yeah. And you'll see a lot of quirks with having to do with setting permissions. That's actually how I bricked the device, because I installed this mouse emulator, and it wanted me to set some permissions, which didn't work right. I needed to do it manually. But before I could do it manually, the damn thing crashed. And once it crashed, it was bricked, which sucks. Basically, bricked means that you can't start the thing up anymore. Like, it's in a state where it won't start, and you can't fix it, generally. Anonymous usage. No, I don't want to do that. All right, so it says it's ready to go, but it didn't actually set the permissions I need. So we're going to have to go and manually do that. and you go up here to the gear, open it up, you go to Android settings, and then you go to apps. You go to the app that you're messing with. You go to you go around here. So turn on notifications. That's one of them that you want. Turn that on, and then go under here. I don't remember for sure if you need this one, but I'm just going to go ahead and allow it. I already allowed that one, because if you don't, it'll just complain at you. It doesn't need it. I don't know why, but I just turned that right back off. So this is where the quirks begin. Like I said, there's a lot of weird quirks. So it's staying on this time. That's not the only one it needs, though. Let's look under here and see if it doesn't need microphone. Doesn't need any of this stuff. There is one more setting, though, that it does need. Accessibility. Go under accessibility. This is very important. If you don't do this, it will brick your device if you do some of the other steps that I show later. So go into here. Make sure you do this. Accessibility. Click that. And go down to the app stuff. And you'll see this one. Projectivy Launcher. You want to enable it. Yes. If you don't do this, you're going to have a bad time. Trust me. Turn that on. And that's it for now. So let's go ahead and... Oh, it's running. Did I already... Yeah, I already launched it. Okay, yeah. So this is actually the launcher right here. Projectivy or whatever it's called, however you pronounce it. This is the launcher. I don't remember exactly when I just launched it, but I must have already launched it. So yeah, this is it. And as you can see, it's a lot more slimmed down than the Google TV launcher. There's not any ads here at all. I don't see any ads. There's probably some ads somewhere, but I'm not seeing them. It looks pretty damn clean. It's very clean. And you can customize all these things all sorts of ways. You can make them bigger. You can make them less round. You can make them do whatever you want. I like to make them bigger, because when I'm seeing all this on the TV across the room, I want them really big, so I made these a lot bigger, but I haven't done it yet on this one. But yeah, I would recommend, go ahead and play with these settings. They're in here somewhere. I think they're in here, yeah. So yeah, do some of that customization however you like. But yeah, we're not going to get into all of those settings. But the important one that we really need to set is you go into here, you go into General, you go into Override Current Launcher. Check that on. Now, this will let you make it where whenever you start this thing up, or press the home button, it'll go into this launcher instead of the Google TV one. So now when I press the home, it just stays here. It doesn't go to the Google TV one. It just stays in this. Now, I guess I'll go ahead and do it the safe way. I'll tell you the safe way so you don't break your system. Now, go into settings here. What we're going to do is just double check and make sure that this thing is for sure the default home system. Go into systems here and go to all the way to the bottom and restart the device. And what we're testing right here is to make sure that whenever we start this device up, it will start Projectivy, or Projectivy, however you say it. It'll start the new launcher that we just installed, just to make sure it doesn't still try to install the old, launch the old one. The reason why we're doing this is because if we remove the old one and it doesn't start the new one properly, then it won't start anything at all, and it will be bricked. You don't want to brick it. It will waste all your time. You got to start all over, like I have already done. And so that's why we're testing it, just to make sure you didn't miss a step. And it would appear that it has started up into Google TV, which is not what it was supposed to do. Oh, but then it's also started up into this one. Okay, so it started both. And I guess the good news is that it did start this one eventually, which is what we wanted. Ideally, it would only launch this one, but apparently it's launching both, and which means it passed the test. That's good enough. We're going to continue to the next step, which is removing the old one. So that's what this program right here is for, ADB TV. This is like some sort of debugging tool that lets you basically run commands that normally you would have to use your computer to run. You'd have to set up some sort of debugging thing and set them, and that's a lot of a pain in the butt. We don't want to do all that. We're going to use this tool to do it for us. It's a lot easier. So it needs some permissions to do it, so we're going to turn on these permissions. This will let it use something, I don't know, some sort of usage, I don't know. Now we got to go in developer mode, and it, just like on any other Android, in order to enable developer mode, you got to do this silly thing where you go into the about options and you like mash on one of these options a whole bunch of times, and then magically you're a developer now. So press this like 7 or 8 times and it turns on, and this is the option you want, Android TV OS build. Click on that one. 7 or 8 times it turns on debugging or developer mode. Once we're in developer mode, it will tell us how to do the next thing, which is USB debugging. You need USB debugging. I tried wireless debugging, it did not work. So just go ahead and do USB debugging. And turn that on. And FYI, when you turn this on, you won't be able to use a mouse on this device. You won't be able to use any USB devices hooked up to it on the device until you turn it back off and reboot it. So that is going to be important later if you have the Plus, not the Plus, the Pro. If you have the On 4K Pro and you want to use a USB mouse, you got to turn this back off later. But turn it on for now. And now this app has all the permissions it needs in order to run these ADB commands. We're going to say yes. We're going to let it do it. And it's going to load up this GUI that is really glowy. It's a really glowy GUI. And what we want to do is not do that. We're going to want to find the default launcher. It's one of the apps in here. And if you try to uninstall it yourself, it won't let you. I don't even think it lists it. But if you go into this app here, then you can do it. So you go in here, and it's this one right here, Google TV. This is the default launcher that I don't want. I don't want this ugly thing. This is the new one. We want this one. Don't touch this one. Go to the Google TV one. Open it up and hit disable. So it's going to disable that. And it will basically be like it's not installed anymore. But it is installed. And I'm just going to go ahead and delete it too. Uninstall it. This one will let you uninstall. But if you try to uninstall it to the app list, it won't. That's why we had to install this app. Just to uninstall this one app. It's a very important app, so it's basically kind of hammered down in such a way where it doesn't let you easily remove it. But you don't need root to do it. We did not root this device, but we can use this app to remove that app. Another thing while we're in here is also there's another app in here called something to do with Wraith. Here it is. This one here. This one apparently can reinstall the Google TV launcher whenever you boot, or I don't know, I guess it gets updates. Somehow it updates it. So let's disable this one as well. And I don't know if we should install it or not. I mean uninstall it, but wait, did it just re-enable? No, it says it says disabled. Why is it showing enabled on the right? Okay. Well, I'm going to uninstall it. I don't know if it's a good idea to fully uninstall it or just disable it, but I'm going to go ahead and remove mine. You can take your own chances, I guess. All right, that's it on that. One other thing, after you've disabled those apps, you don't really need this anymore. You can uninstall it. And after you've uninstalled it, you can also go back into here, go to Android settings, go to where was it? Developer options, and turn off USB debugging. Whoop. Whoa, hello. You can turn this back off now. This way you can use regular USB devices whenever you reboot. You got to reboot it. That's it. So now it's removed. It's uninstalled. Whenever we start this thing up again, it should go straight to this launcher and not the other launcher at all. And let's go ahead and do that now just to make sure we're all on the same page. I'm going to go and do, oops, I don't know where I'm going. Go to Android settings again and go to system and go to the bottom and do a restart again. Alrighty, so at this point we've removed the default one. We've replaced it with this one. It should be the active one. It should be the default one, and it should be the one that just boots right up whenever we turn it on now. This is basically the completion of step one of the whole process. It's quite a lengthy setup process, but I do think it is worth it. I've done this like 4 or 5 times now, unfortunately, but mostly because I keep getting new devices. And it really is cool to be able to have all of these old games, all your old retro consoles and ROMs on this device and just play it on your couch hooked up to your TV. It's great. I really do love it. So it is worth it. It is a lot of trouble. But on the bright side, these devices are dirt cheap. So at least you're not out of money very much. So it did work. It booted up into projectivy or whatever it's called. And it did not boot up the other one, and so presumably we have no system resources being tied up by loading a bunch of ads we don't even want to look at, which is exactly ideal. That's exactly what we wanted, and everything is working according to plan. At this point, we don't need this device, we don't need this app anymore. So if you don't care to do anything else with it, which I don't, I'm just going to uninstall it. You can uninstall it. You just long press on these apps in order to get this menu to pop up, and then you can do whatever you want. It installed a bunch of stuff I never asked for, just like I told you it would. It asked me, what do you want? I said none of it. It did it anyway. That's how it works. I don't want any of these. I don't use many of these at all. And if I want them, I'll just put them back on there. Sometimes they don't disappear for some reason. All right, so I'm just going to uninstall a couple more of these stupid things, just so we got a nice fresh base install without a bunch of nonsense that I don't care about. All right, that's good enough. You can delete the rest of them that you don't want also. Ooh, here's one. Let's get rid of this sucker. All right, that's good for now. All right, so next step is we want to install retroarch, right? Retroarch is a it's like a emulator, I don't know, system with the GUI, and it runs all these cores that do the emulation, but it's basically like a really great front end for a whole bunch of different emulator cores, and some of them have existed for decades, like SNES 9X. There's an SNES 9X core that I guess is based on the old SNES 9X emulator from the 90s, man. That thing is old. I remember using that thing in the 90s. There was SNES 9X. That was one of the big ones. And then there was ZSNES. That one was also really amazing. That one ended up being my favorite one. But there's not a ZSNES core. But there is a SNES 9X core. There's several. There's like many versions over the years, and you can use any of them. So anyway, what we're doing now is we're using this browser. It's basically a browser. We're going to go to retroarch.com, plug that in here, and it will load up. Or will it? Go. And it should look like this. This is the website that we want. Scroll down a little and you can get RetroArch. We're getting this version off of this website. I think there's other ways to get it, but this is newer and, I don't know, more stable or something. So we're going to go ahead and grab it and download it. Moving right along. It's going to ask for some permissions. Actually, first it's going to ask for permissions to even install apps. So as soon as I click this, it'll back out of here. And while we're here, I'm just going to go ahead and turn on some of these other ones as well, because this is going to come in handy later. And I don't know what the other one is, so we won't do that one. Do you want to install? Yes. It's going to complain that it doesn't know what this source is or what this package is. And it will say it's you don't want to install it, it says. But no, we do want to install it. So open more details. It'll let you install anyway. And now we've done it. It says it's installed. I'm going to open it up. And it wants permissions for things as well. We're going to go ahead and grant that. And it loads up this base version of it and starts downloading updates of some kind. It's got a new GUI. And my controller does not work. You might be in the same boat I could have sworn it worked before when I did this, but it's not working with the regular remote. But we'll worry about that in a little bit. We don't need it just yet. So I'm going to go ahead and press the home button and go back to the main menu. And now we can see that RetroArch is here. And long press on it and go to app settings and force stop it for right now, because we don't there's something we need to change before we get further into it, and we might as well do it now. So we've gone and killed the app. It's not running, but it has installed. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go over to another app. We're going to go to CX File Explorer. We need to change some of the config files for RetroArch so that we can actually change our input settings, because if we configure our inputs like controllers and whatnot, we will run into this one stupid, really irritating bug that happens a lot with Android TV. And I'm going to tell you how to avoid it. The trick to avoiding it is we put the config files in another place where we can actually edit them. And in order to do that, we use this CX File Explorer. What else is in here? A bunch of other stuff. All right, so we're going to turn that on. And this will let us browse the file system. And you could actually go in here and manually edit these files in this little GUI that it gives you, but it is a massive pain in the butt, and I don't want to do it because it's really not user friendly at all, and it's got like thousands of lines. So we don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. You don't want to do that probably. You can do that if you have to. If you can't figure out these other ways, then you're going to have to do that way. I don't recommend it though. There's got to be a better way. I have a better way that works for me. I'll show you what it is. Yeah, we want to change that file, but we don't want to do it from here. It's too much of a pain. So we'll go up to Network, and we're going to go to Access from Network, and we're going to change some of these things, and we're going to show hidden files, and we're going to start this. This is an FTP server. That's why I said we need an FTP server earlier. So before I switch over, I'm going to start plugging in some of these numbers. So I'm going to plug these numbers in on my other screen here and try and log in. Just 1 second. I gotta get this logged in before I switch over, otherwise I won't be able to see it. 461928. Okay, and it is connected. So now I'll switch over to my other screen, and so I've plugged in the address up here. Like if you're on Linux or most browsers will let you do this. Windows Explorer might not. I don't know, but just plug this in and see if it'll work. It might work. Actually, I do think it probably will work, because I remember there was some sort of way I could mount drives off FTPs. I'm not totally 100% sure it'll work. But yeah, plug this in. If it doesn't work and you're on Windows, get some sort of FTP client like FileZilla or something like that. I think FileZilla is one of them. There's several FTP clients. There's also like a command line FTP that you can use. I wouldn't recommend this way though, because it's not any more convenient than just editing on the device. But yeah, you can do that. Don't do that though. That's bound to be some FTP client you have at your disposal. And then once you've logged in, you go into your device, you go into Android, you go into data, you go to RetroArch, you go to files, and you'll see the config file. This is what we want. I'm going to drag it over to my text editor and dump it in here. And what we're going to look for is we're going to look for this option right here, joypad autoconfig _dir. We're going to go to it, and you see this is the default path right here. The thing about this default path is, as you can see, we don't have access to it. Like if I open this thing, I see device, I see a data folder over here, but I see nothing about autoconfig in here. I don't know what this path is. When I looked it up, it said it was some sort of like app privileged path where only this app can access it. No other apps can access it. So that means we can't see it. We can't mess with it. We can't do anything with it. And the problem is that this path right here, it's already installed a bunch of config files for the controllers, and we can't change those files. This is the problem. Like if I reconfigure my controllers or my remote control here on RetroArch and try to save it, the next time I change the order of my controllers, it will load the default and not load my changes. So I can't change any of the settings for any of my controls and actually have them stick even if I switch the order, which I'm going to switch the order. If I'm playing 2 players or if I'm playing with the remote and a gamepad, it's going to mess up the order and it will break my settings every single time. It's super annoying. And it was really hard to figure out how to fix this, but I'm going to tell you how to do it so that you don't run into the same issue and spend like 4 days trying to figure it out. So what you want to do is you want to set a setting like this. So I'm going to copy this one. You want to look at this pretty closely. I can make it bigger for you. You want to copy exactly like this. /storage, /emulated, /0, /retroarch. And you need to make sure it's case sensitive. Retroarch with capital R, capital A. Config, autoconfig. Okay? Copy this whole thing and go to your config file and set that. And change it to that. So I'm going to change it, save it. All right. And that is that. All right, now that that's set, we're going to go back to the other app, and we can go back, press the home button, get out of there. You can just leave it running in the background. I've left mine running. Just press home, leave it running in the background. Go to RetroArch now. Actually, before you go to RetroArch, go to settings. Oh, this is also the settings. So this gear icon and this gear icon up here, they're the same thing. Well, actually, they're not. This is the Android settings only, and this one can go to Android settings. So this is the same thing as this. This is the Android settings. Go to near the bottom, and you'll see remotes and accessories. And this is where we're going to pair up a new controller. My remote isn't even working on RetroArch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook up my 8-bit DOE SN30 controller that I showed you a little while ago. And so I turned it on, and I'm going to press the pair button for a little bit, and it goes into pairing mode, and it should show up on this list, and there it is. And I've selected it, and it's going to try and pair it for me. If you're on the Pro version of this device and you notice that pairing is really impossible, I'll tell you what the problem is. Apparently, the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth on the Pro device interfere with each other. So if you're using Wi-Fi and you try to pair a device, you'll have a really hard time. And occasionally it'll still work, and most of the time it doesn't seem to work. And so what I did in order to get around that was I went up here and I turned off the Wi-Fi. You can either just turn it off, or you can hook up an Ethernet cable instead and don't use the Wi-Fi, and then it will let you pair a device without issue. So FYI, that is one of the issues that you could run into on 4K Pro. I'm on the Plus. I did not notice that issue on the Plus at all. So the Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi don't seem to interfere with each other on the Plus. They do seem to interfere with each other on the Pro, but the Pro has other options for networking. So you could just plug in a wire or just turn off the networking. You don't really need to be on the network all the time. You can turn it off temporarily and pair a device. Okay, so anyway, I've paired the device now. I've got a controller hooked up there. Hopefully you've managed to pair one of your devices, any of them, like any old controller, other than apparently the remote, which is not working for some reason. So once you've paired a device, reopen this, and then use your gamepad instead if your remote's not working. And fortunately, the default settings for my gamepad are working. So that is fantastic. Let me try the remote again. It's still not working. It's detecting it and apparently configuring it wrong. So I'm going to use this controller for now. I'm going to go to settings, and I'm going to go to user interface, and I'm going to go all the way to the bottom, and I'm going to turn it to this other one that I like better, XMB. It just looks cooler. So I've selected it. I'm going to restart this thing and get another interface because that one is ugly. I don't like it. All right, now this is the XMB interface, and it's a lot prettier, and it's easier to follow what's going on. I like it a lot better, so I've switched to it. And now what we're going to do is we're going to get into setting up the controllers. So I'm going to go into here. This is where you go to for your controllers. You go to Input, Retro Binds, and this will be the first one that's detected, and you can see that it's detected my 8-bit DOE. And I'm going to press this button. This is a test to see whether it's pulling the right settings. or not. If you press reset and nothing happens, that means that whatever settings it's got here, these are the ones that it's defaulting to. And I mean, they seem to be working for me, so I'm going to save them. And it's giving me an error, saving controller profile. Okay, so what we do when that happens is we go over to the other window again, go to your other computer basically, and then go back to your FTP server, go to the device, and then you'll see a directory on here called retroarch. This is where most of the configs will now be. Go under config, and you'll see that there's only one option in here so far. But yeah, go into config and open a new path and make a new folder and go to autoconf. I think it was autoconf. Let's double check. What was the name of that exactly? So we're basically making this path. The reason I think it's failing is because this path doesn't exist yet and it's not auto creating it. So we're gonna create it for it. Retroarch config autoconfig. So I gotta put an IG on here. Autoconfig. So now this path does exist. So we're gonna go back over to the device, and now I'm gonna try and save it again. And this time it says it worked. So let's go back over to the computer, back over to the FTP, and we'll look in here, and sure enough, it's saved the file. Super duper. Okay, that's good. We're on our way to hopefully avoiding that really irritating controller issue that I ran into before. Hopefully this will save you running into it at all. There could still be one more trip up. So now I'm going to try and configure the other one. So I've just pressed a button on it so it detects it. It sees it here. And for some reason it doesn't work. I'm going to try and reset this one. Doesn't change anything, but these settings are not working for me. So I'm going to manually set them all, set all controls. And now I'm using my remote, and I'm pressing all these buttons that it's asking for to manually set all the buttons. I don't remember which one is which, so I'm just going to guess and then try the other way if it's wrong. And those are pretty much all the ones I set, like confirm and cancel, and then the rest of them, I'm not going to worry about those. And so it's still not working for me, but don't panic yet. So I'm going to save this, and it says it saved it, and then press the home button to back out. Go back into it. Now press your remote first, not your gamepad, but your remote, and it should put this in port 1 right now. Now it's showing port 1, and it does appear to be working just fine. Now I'm going to press the gamepad as well, and it is not working. So I'm going to manually configure that on port 2 this time. So I haven't had to fully manually configure this one yet. I don't know why it didn't work. So now when I press reset, you see that it shows nothing. So it's not pulling the config correctly for some reason. It must have not saved the config correctly. So we're going to configure it in slot 2. This time it should work better. So I'm going to set all controls for my gamepad. So this time I'm setting all these buttons on the gamepad itself. And we're just going to do it all again. This time it's the gamepad, not the remote. So I'm going to set all the buttons that I want for all the games. And just do them all manually once. It's got a lot of buttons. Even analog controls. So I'm basically giving you the main hurdles here, the main obstacles, the main massive glitches that will ruin your day. There's a whole ton of other settings that you can set. Oh, shoot. I set that wrong, didn't I? Yeah, I sure did. All right, well, I set a couple of those wrong. Let me go down and see if I can manually fix those. I was talking too much, huh? Let's see. Right analog. I think that's the one I set wrong. Oops. Right analog left. Right analog right. I think I set this one wrong too. Okay, that looks right. All right, so I set those correctly now. I got to use my remote to go back up and save this controller profile. Hopefully this time it saved it correctly so that I can actually use it in any order. So I'm going to go back to the home screen, come back in. I'm going to press my gamepad, and it's working. I'm going to press my remote, and it's not working. Now when I do them in the opposite order, the second one still doesn't work. So this is what I was trying to avoid, and I don't know why it's still doing it. So let's go back over here. Let's check these two files and make sure they look right. That looks right. That looks right. Why is it not working? I do not know, but in my previous experience, it should be working by now. Let's go back in and just double check one thing. There is an option here called autoconfig, and it is on. And that should be all that we need, honestly. I don't know why it's not working. Let's press this. Maybe that's important. Oh, I know what it is. I did forget another setting. So I do think it is setting the controllers correctly, but there's a menu option in here that we have to set. And I don't remember where it was. Menu controls, maybe. Use the same controls for both menu and game. No, that's not it. All users control menu. There it is. Yes. Okay. So we did dodge the issue. You can't control the menu on player 2 yet. Okay. So it is loading the configs correctly. That's fantastic news. And it didn't take me too long to remember that important setting. Oh shit, I spoke too soon. Hold on, let me see that again. So the controller 1 is working, controller 2 is working. I get out. Now I'm going to reinitialize them in a different order. Controller 1 is working, controller 2 is not working. You got to be kidding me. So now the remote is not working, but the gamepad is. We'll just go back in here one more time and just double check and see what is the story here. So these are my settings for my gamepad, but these are supposed to be the settings for the remote. Why are they the gamepad settings? I'm going to hit this button, and now it's set them to this, which is the correct settings. I'm going to save this again just to be on this, be sure. Let's try that one more time. I go back in, I try the gamepad, it works. I try the remote, it works. Okay, I think we finally got it. So yeah, like I said earlier, if you do the reset and it doesn't change, that means it's pulling the correct settings correctly now and from the default location. So let's try that one more time. I'm going to go out, I'm going to go back in, I'm going to do the remote, it works, the gamepad, it works. Yes, it works. Finally, okay. So hopefully you're on the same page. You found that extra setting that I told you for the menus, and you tinkered around alongside with me, and now it doesn't seem to matter what what order I turn the controls on in. It will set the settings right from the autoconf, and it'll work. That's one of the biggest hurdles that I ran into when I was using this device to play games. Is I have 3 controllers or 3 or 4 controllers, and I got niece and nephew. They wanted to be able to play, so the controls, they get initialized in a different order, and if you don't have those configs set up correctly, all the controls will have to be manually set up every single time the order changes, which is awful. But if you do that config change thing that we've done, and you set them up just once, and you've got it, you've done this reset and save thing to make sure it's pulling and saving the right set, then it should work in any order from now on. So like regardless of which order I turn on the remote or the gamepad, it should work. And I should be able to add other gamepads, set it up once, and have it do the same thing. So that's basically phase 2. We've got RetroArch fully installed, and we've got the stupid controller glitch avoided, worked around. So now we can get to the next step, which is you can configure all these other settings however you like. There's quite a lot of settings, and I do actually reconfigure quite a few of them to a different way, to my liking. Again, all this is optional. You can customize it to your own liking, but I liked it a little more slimmed down. So now we've got a pretty great, in my opinion, a pretty great default config setup. Not default, but we've got a pretty good config setup to our liking. And we're missing some very important things, though. We don't have any games, and we don't actually have any cores yet. So let's go ahead and get some cores. We're going to go to the online updater. We're going to go to the core downloader. it will get us a list of all the cores. There's a bunch. And a lot of these don't work, actually. I tried a bunch of random things. I was tinkering around with a lot of things, and some things don't work, some things do work. But I'll recommend the ones that I'm going to use for my setup. And I've actually already forgotten which one of these I was using. All right, so I couldn't remember which cores I had installed, so I went ahead and fired up the Pro that I already have installed to see which ones, and we'll just copy those. So the main ones I've installed are MGBA. This one can play Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games. I think it can play all three. And I've got for NES. All right, so I checked which one I'm actually using. This is the one I'm using, and it seems pretty great, actually. And I also have this one. I tested it around. It seemed fine too, but the audio sounded a little different, like a little bit more muted. And I also have this one. It also ran fine. I can't remember any real difference. I can't remember the differences offhand right now, but at the time I settled on this one as my favorite. It seemed pretty damn good, and it seemed like the audio was really good. A note about all of these, they have settings in there for timing, like how many frames a second, like what hertz to run at, basically. And they have like what they'll default at, like some of them will default to some stuff. Basically, there's different versions of the games that have been out, like for regular Nintendo. There's NTSC or NTS something, NTSC. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, so and then there's PAL versions. Okay, so depending on which version of the ROM you get, it will have a different like hertz rate that it wants to run at, and depending on which emulator you pick, it will default to a different thing, but you can override some of them. But if you get the American versions, that's the NTSC, and you run them in this, it will default and be already set up to run correctly for the US versions. But yeah, that's an important note. Depending on where you get your ROMs, they could be the PAL versions, and then you'll have to tinker around with some settings depending on which emulator you're running. That is a pain. So I would recommend, if you're in the US, just get the USA versions, and make sure you've got the USA versions, and you should be able to use this one without any issues. You don't have to do anything special. It will just work. All right, let's keep going. The Nintendo 64, I had a lot of issues trying to tinker around with settings to try and get them to work, tolerably. And the two I tried were this one right here. I think this is the one I'm defaulting to. I can't remember. I was mostly playing the N64 on this Plus model, which I bricked, so I can't check the settings on that one anymore. But it was between these two. And I think they both worked. This one had a lot of settings that you could tweak, because I tried to get GoldenEye to work, and it ran terribly. It was basically unplayable. So FYI, if you want to run GoldenEye, you're probably out of luck, because even with all the tweaked settings, it ran like crap. I tried to run Shadows of the Empire, and it also ran pretty bad. I managed to tweak the settings in such a way where it was playable, but there was a bunch of graphical issues, and I can't remember which one of these emulators it was doing it, but it was really not very playable, so I wouldn't recommend that one either. But I did get Mario 64 to work, I think on both. I think it just worked right out of the box on both, perfectly great. It was fucking awesome. It was really sweet. It was really giving me a nostalgia buzz. It was awesome. And both Zeldas worked right out of the box. I think one of them had a slight delay here and there, and then it was fine. It was totally playable, I'm pretty sure, on both. And I also installed Mario Kart 64. It seemed to work fine on both. I tried to install San Francisco Rush, and it was barely playable on one of them and not the other, and I can't remember which one's which. So FYI, very few N64 games seem to work very reliably. So if you have some favorite that's not among the ones I just listed, then you'll just have to try it yourself. But the main, most classic ones, in my opinion, were Mario 64 and Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time and and Majora's Mask. Those three, those are my favorite. And GoldenEye. I really did want to play GoldenEye, but it did not play. So you're plumb out of luck on that one unless you get a different model. Like if you get a different thing. Like I heard the NVIDIA Shield is stronger. Maybe it can play it, but I wouldn't hold my breath. So FYI, just keep that in mind. I'm going to keep moving on now. So let's see. As far as N60, as far as Nintendo 60, Jesus, I don't know. I can't speak English. As far as Super Nintendo goes, I would use this one right here, SNES 9X 2010. This is the one that I had the best results with. There's other versions. I didn't see this version before. I don't know what it is. I tried this one, and I tried this one. This one was too slow. It seemed like the newer version, it was a little too demanding for some reason. This one, I don't remember. But this one was the newest one that seemed to run great, and I had no problems with any of the games running on it. It was fantastic. Let's see. I also tried PlayStation games. I'm basically just going to go through the ones I actually did. So let's go down to PlayStation. And I used this one right here, and it worked fantastic. I didn't have any problems with it. I also tried a couple of these other ones. This one, one of these was highly recommended, and it did not run. I don't remember which one. I think I tried this one. I don't remember if it ran or not. But this one works perfectly great. It's got some cool config options, and I had no problems with it whatsoever. So I totally recommend that. And that is all the cores I've been playing around with that I actually had good luck with. Back out of there for now. Anyway, I think that's it as far as that. So now we need to install some games. And let's go ahead and close out of there. And we're going to go over to the computer again. All right, so when it comes to the actual ROMs, now legally you're supposed to own the games, and you're legally allowed to make copies of them with some sort of like ROM dumper. And I don't know what the legality is of downloading one that you do own. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to try and give you any legal advice on that note. But I do think you're generally not supposed to download them from websites like vim.net if you don't own them. So if you don't own them, you should not go to vim.net vault and get the games here. Because the good thing about this site, though, that you can use even if you have your own legal copies, is that you can check a game and go to it, and you can see the CRCs. So if you don't download them from here, which you shouldn't, unless you own them, then possibly it's legal. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. But I do know that if you have a copy and you want to make sure it's the right one, you can check the CRCs on here and run a checksum on your local files and see if it matches one of these versions. That is definitely, that part is legal. I'm pretty sure that part is legal. So, and you can check MD5s and all this other stuff too. Also on this site, it will tell you which version you're looking at. So this is a USA version. If I go to the Nintendo, it might label them as PAL or something. Let me go to like Legends of Zelda. So it's got multiple versions listed here. I think PAL is the European version, like I was saying earlier. Legend of Zelda. So yeah, you generally want to get the USA versions. If you get the PAL ones, you gotta tweak your settings, or they won't work right. Anyway, so yeah, you can check CRCs and all sorts of stuff like that. And it's a great site. It's like a big repository database of all the ROMs and all the right CRCs and all that sort of stuff. It's pretty great. And if you do go for some other method, like you sell the high seas or something, you need to make sure that you get the right versions, and you won't know what versions they are generally, because I may have looked across the ocean and seen some of the other versions that were available, and it was just a mix-max grab bag. You don't know if they're good rips. You don't know if they're the right versions. So FYI, you want to make sure you got the right CRCs on these sort of things. Otherwise, you're gonna run into weird issues. But anyway, so once you do have some that you've legally obtained one way or the other, I don't know, however it is you do your business, then you want to make a path on here And I'm just going to copy a handful of these directories. I think I tried Wii. I don't think it worked. I don't think it worked for me at all. I can't remember. It must not have worked too well, or I still have it. I don't still have it, so it must not have worked. Anyway, these are actually relatively small. NES and Super NES games are actually relatively small. They don't take up that much space at all. But then when you get to Nintendo 64, they start to get a little bigger. And like I said, they didn't all work for me. So the Nintendos worked, Mario Kart worked. This almost was playable. This was barely unplayable. GoldenEye just didn't work at all. But it was more or less these four. These were the main classics. These are my favorite classics. I did legally own all of these games, by the way, in case you're curious. I legally owned a crap load of games. I still have most of them, actually. I don't have the Nintendo 64s anymore because I don't know whatever happened to my 64. It seems to be lost in the wind. And I don't have any of my Nintendo stuff anymore either. I vaguely remember giving that away to a family member, and then it got infested with roaches. So I didn't want it back. The Nintendo I still have. I still have my old Super Nintendo, and I still have most of these games. And the downside about playing them on the old Super Nintendo, though, is that, well, first of all, it's very old. The system is super old, and it's very fragile. The power plug doesn't seem to work very well unless I kind of kink the wire in just the right way. I think there's something wrong with the wire in there. But if I kind of kink it backwards around the brick and plug it in, then it will power. And then the barrel jack is also broken. The barrel is gone. But there's two prongs that stick out of it, and if I put, like the jack on the Super Nintendo is gone, but if I put the plug carefully on those two prongs, then it does work. But it's not exactly an ideal situation. And the controllers are getting kind of mashed on, and I don't really want let kids touch them and mess with them because they'll break them. And it does have a hard time starting most of the games. They do eventually mostly start, but half the time I lose the saves. Like if I try to start up Super Mario World a few times, it'll erase all my saves. So that's a big bummer. And the other big issue is that modern TVs, they hook up by HDMI, and the Super Nintendo does not have HDMI. So I had to use an adapter. And so basically I've got like a chain of adapters now. I've got the old classic like RCA type jack on there. It goes to RCA type plugs, and then I hook that into an HDMI converter to hook it into the TV. So it's really not ideal, and there's still a noticeable delay, and the whole thing is. And then I still have wires which don't reach my couch, so it's not ideal at all. That's why I've gone with this whole new setup and gone through all the trouble of setting all these things up on there because it's way more user friendly and way more modern, and it's just you got all the modern conveniences like Bluetooth controllers. That's really great. New controllers that aren't all mashed on. I don't need to worry about if kids get them all dirty because I can just buy a new one for $8 or something. It'll be fine. So as far as the PlayStation games go, a note about PlayStation games, they are very big. They take up an enormous amount of space, and you can only fit so many of them on the device. Like I've got Plus going right now. It says I've got like, what did it say, 12 gigs free? I don't remember. But I still recommend using this format, which you'll have to get a utility to put them into, because it takes up less space on the device. Because even though it's less compressed than this format, the emulators can't read out of this format. They can read out of this format. And since it uses some compression, a pretty decent amount of compression still, you'll be able to fit a lot more of them on the device than you would be able to otherwise. So I put one on there as a test. There's one more thing that I can't remember. You might need a BIOS ROM for PlayStation. And again, this is one of those things that you're supposed to try and get legally. And I don't remember where I got them, honestly. Some of these, this one here I got like 20-something years ago. and I copied it over here. And this one and this one, I don't remember what the versions are. I think this is a US version. This might be a Japanese version. I don't remember. But anyway, so now here we are in the RetroArch again. And what you want to do is go to import content. And I'm going to do a manual scan. I'm going to do it a directory at a time for each type of game. So we're going to go to the path that we put the ROMs in, which is right here. And we'll do Super Nintendo. So that's the directory we've set. Now we need to set which system they're for. Yeah, some of this is a little clunky, huh? I mean, why doesn't it default to only the ones you have installed, right? Like this. This only defaults to the ones you have installed. Why doesn't the other one? We're going to want to say scan inside archives because mine are zipped. Yours should probably be zipped too. And go ahead and start to scan. So it's gone and scanned. Now I have a new menu. Now I have Super Nintendo games. So if I pick one of these and I tell it to download the thumbnails, you can see the settings I have. We'll show the title screen and the box art like that. You can go over to this online updater and tell it to download playlists thumbnails, and it will go and gather most of those up very slowly apparently. So can I do something else while I wait? It looks like I can. So we'll go over to we'll go over to the core settings on the PlayStation Core and see if it knows anything about those ROMs. Manage cores. That's the PlayStation one here. It will want to find one of these. And it looks like it wants them to be in this location here. RetroArch system. Alright, let's go over there. We'll go over to the other device. And we're just going to delete this. This is the wrong spot. RetroArch system. Oops, wrong way. And I think that's it. Just RetroArch system. I'll plop these in here. Let's go back over. Yeah, this is getting to be a long video, huh? There is a lot to it. It's not short, huh? I mean, a lot of this you could probably figure out yourself, but if you can't, then I'll go ahead and go over it, right? You want to look again? Oh, it's found this one. Okay, so yeah, it does see one of them. This is the PS1 US BIOS, okay? I don't remember what the other ones were for. One of them might be a PS Slim. I think one of them is the original old version that originally released ages and ages ago. I guess it doesn't look for that. Or maybe it only needs one and it's found this one, so it's happy. I'm not really sure, but you might want to get this one in particular, you know, using one method or another. I don't know. And now, oops, I backed out. So let's go ahead and scan another one of these directories. We're almost to the fun part. We're almost there. Go to manual scan again. I'm going to go ahead and change this to the PlayStation this time and tell it to scan that. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to set this to the PlayStation. And that's the one. And we're going to change the default core as well to that one. And we're going to go and scan and archives again, all that sort of stuff, yeah. I think that's right. And it's worked. It's showing a disk. I got this one. See if I can get some thumbnails on that. Yay, Final Fantasy Tactics, classic. All right, let's try and fire one of these up, huh? Let's do this one. My controller's not working for some reason. I don't know why. Let's go back out. Oh, it's turned off. It went to sleep on me. Turn it back on. Repaired. Let's fire this up and see what happens. I don't hear any audio. It should be able to capture the audio. It's showing down here. Surely there'd be audio by now. I don't hear the audio, but maybe it's capturing it. I think it's capturing it, but I can't hear it. So there it is. It's working. And I probably won't have any saves on it yet. No, probably not. But yeah, this is it, man. It's doing it. It's running the game, and there's all sorts of stuff you can do from this point on. So that's one game engine working. I could copy more games on there and try those, but I'm not gonna. I just wanted to show you it's working. And there is a quick menu. Is it configured? It is sort of configured. I think by default, start and select will open up this quick menu. If you don't get that to work, then you'll have to, I don't know what you'll do. But yeah, start and select worked for me. I think that's the default. Then you can close the game and get out of that. Yeah, that's working. Let's try one of these out. Let's try Chrono Trigger. Oops, wrong button. Nice. Yeah, so this is also working. These are all fully playable too. Like the speed is great. All Super Nintendo games. I haven't seen any of them not work. They all work great. And PlayStation games, it seemed like they all pretty much work great too. I can't hear it, what you're hearing, but I assume that it is sounding fine. I'm going to go ahead and quit out with start and select again. If you hooked up a PlayStation controller, the home button might work. If you hooked up one of those what do you call it? 8-bit Pro 2, I think that little heart button will work. The heart button is not working on this one, but I'm using the SN30 Pro. Oddly enough, like I said, even though they have the exact same pairing modes, they do not have the same buttons, which is weird. But anyway, that's pretty much it. I think I've shown you all the things that you need to know. I've showed you how to set up your games. I've showed you how to make it look really nice. I showed you how to play them. You can do the same thing that I just did with the Nintendo or Game Boy games or Nintendo 64 games. Oh, yeah, I guess we could do Nintendo 64. But yeah, for me, it worked just as well as this. You don't need any special hardware ROMs for those. You just needed it for the PlayStation. So I think I've showed you all the things you need to know in order to set up your little on 4K stick or hockey puck into a top-notch retro gaming home entertainment system that you can use from the couch with remote controls, hooks up by HDMI. Oh, the other thing that you will want to do is if your TV will probably have a setting in there somewhere. I can't show it to you because that's not part of what I can screen share. But somewhere in there should be a game mode. You want to turn on game mode. And in game mode, basically any sort of like weird post-processing that it does, like where it changes your color balance or it does some sort of like motion smoothing, which is awful. I hate motion smoothing. If you have that on, you should probably want to turn it off anyway. It makes things look weird as shit. But yeah, turn on game mode. It'll turn off all those extra features and lower the video delay so that your games feel more snappy and responsive. And sometimes there's even a game mode for audio. So check if there's a game mode for audio on your TV, like Samsung's. They generally have game mode options available. You have to turn them on, and they'll constantly turn them back off for some stupid reason. Anytime you change the device, or sometimes just turn it on and off, it'll turn game mode back off on the modern TVs for some stupid reason. Super irritating. But yeah, turn that on, and your games will be a lot more responsive. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I think that's the whole video. I've showed you all the things. And from there, you can install your own games. You can tinker around with your network settings. You can install other apps, but this was mostly to focus on RetroArch. I did think about trying to install that Pixel Remaster game again on here and show you that, but this video is probably already way too long, and I'm going to call it a wrap on that. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. I put out random helpful content on all sorts of random things, like random games, random tinkering projects, just weird hobbyist nonsense that like 1% of the population will maybe have heard of and not even be into. But if that is interest to you, then go ahead and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Bye.